In this tutorial, we are creating this stylized fluffy looking Studio Ghibli style grass in Unreal Engine 5 from scratch. I have also included the grass model and all the resources required in the link in description if you want to skip the modeling part to follow along directly. So let's just jump right in. We can start by creating a new Unreal project. So just open up this Unreal project browser and head over to the games tab so that we can create a new project. You can select blank from over here and rest of the settings stay at default. And now let's just change the name. So I will set it to something like course underscore stylized environment. And yeah, let's just hit create and wait for it to finish. We can right click over here in our content browser. So just press Ctrl plus space to bring it up, and you can click over here to dock it in layout so that it stays over here only. And yeah, now you can hit right click, create new level, and let's rename this to new world only. And double click to open it up, hit save selected. And yeah, now when the level will open up, you will be welcomed with this completely black screen because currently the level does not have anything, not even light. So we need to add them on our own. So let's just quickly set up a basic lighting scene for our level. So now you can go over here in window and enable place actors so that we can view this place actor window. You can just drag and drop anything from over here in this window into the scene. Let's search for something like directional light, which will basically be our sun. Drag and drop it over here. You will notice nothing really happens. But wait, another thing that we want to add is atmosphere. So that is sky atmosphere. As soon as you add it, we have like a nice looking sky. We have this dark area over here. We'll just fix that in a minute. One more thing is select the directional light and make sure to search for atmosphere sunlight over here. It is enabled by default, but if it is disabled, just enable it. You will notice this is the thing that connects this directional light to the atmosphere. So that way we can see the sun over here. Next thing to add is I think we can add exponential height fog to add a bit of fog. We don't really need fog in our scene, but let's just add it so that we fix that black color thing over here that was appearing at the bottom. You can adjust the fog directly from over here by the fog density. So we can like decrease it to 0.0001 so that it is like very less. Let's see. Next we can add is skylight. So just drag and drop the skylight and make sure to enable real-time capture from over here so that we don't have to like capture it again and again. It will automatically update whenever we change the lighting. And the last thing to add is you can also add a bit of clouds just for now so that your scene looks good. But we won't really be adding them in our final scene as we will be creating our own clouds. So we don't really need them. But yeah, if you want to add them for now, you can add them. So yeah, that's basically it. Let's see. First, we can hit save. And another thing that I will do is I will just select all of them and click over here to create a new folder. And I will place all of them in the lights section just so we have everything organized. We will try and keep everything like very organized in this course so that we have no problem in like finding assets and things. And also when I like pass on all these resources to you, you guys also don't have any issues finding out things. And yeah, now we can just close this place actors window because we don't really need it now. And yeah, we have our basic lighting setup. So next we can add a landscape to our scene. So you can go over here in the select mode and select landscape from over here. That way we will be now in the landscape editing mode and you can see this huge green color plane appearing. So basically what this is, this will help us visualize how big our landscape is and how many like sections does it have. You can see if you change it from over here, it will update. And if you just hit create, now the landscape is appearing. You can sculpt on it and do things like it. But let's just undo it for now. We need to change a couple of settings over here. So I don't really want the landscape to be too big. So I will just go over here and set the selection size to 7 by 7. And we can increase the number of components to 32 by 32. And then I will just scale it down. So type in just 25 over here. And that way we have like a nice bit of detail in our landscape and it is like really small because we don't want it to be too big. We can like detail it properly with it being small. So yeah, if you want, yeah, definitely you can go for a larger one if you want to have that. But yeah, I am just going to keep it this way and hit create now. All right, so now we have our landscape with us. So now you can use the tools over here and the brush to sculpt on the landscape very easily. We can like add elevation by painting over it. If you hold shift, then you will be like adding depth to the landscape. You can also change the brushes to add like smoothness. You can select the smooth brush or the flatten to like flatten out the surface. They're pretty self-explanatory. We also have brushes like hydro and noise that add like damage kind of thing to like your landscape to make it look like actual land, which is pretty cool. So yeah, basically I will just quickly undo everything. And now what we want to do is we just want to add like a little bit of like variation in the like elevation of our landscape, just so it looks like a real land and does not look like completely flat this way. So let's just adjust the brush size. Let's set the tool strength to something like 0.2 so that it is not that much. Select the sculpt tool and just paint over it like this randomly. You can add a little bit more elevation to some of the area just so we have like variations all around. And see, right away it looks like much better. But we can maybe select things like the erosion brush, again paint over it. Don't want it to be like that obvious, we just want it to be a little bit subtle. As you can see, we have like a little bit damage and some variation. We can add some noise as well. That much. Let's just undo it. Over here, I think I will use the flatten brush to decrease this a little bit. Obviously, you can like spend some more time with this until you are satisfied. But yeah, I think this is pretty good. You can also use a smooth brush to like smoothen out some of the surfaces where you think like the elevation is too much. But yeah, I think this much is pretty good. I'm happy with this. If you look it from this perspective, we have like various different elevations. I'll just select sculpt and add a bit more height over here like this. Yeah, I think that's good. Let's come back to the select mode now. We are done with the landscape. And now what we want to do is we want to set up the runtime virtual textures. So the first thing that you need to do is go over to edit and project settings. And over here, search for virtual textures. And you need to enable virtual texture support. If you are doing this for the very first time, it might take a little while. So yeah, just keep that in mind. If you hit enable and then you need to restart your project, so yeah, I will just hit restart. You guys can also do that and like grab a cup of coffee because it will take a little bit while. And yeah, I'll just resume back the video when it is done. Hit save. And yeah, all right guys, so it is done. Now let's just close this project settings window and open up our level. And let's see, I will right click over here and create a new folder, and let's just rename this to RVTs. We can add our runtime virtual textures over here. And the first thing that we need to do is go over to over to window and enable place actors and search for runtime. Yeah, runtime virtual texture volume, and just drag and drop it onto the scene. And now you can see this volume has like a box like thing. So what we want is we want this box like thing to cover our entire landscape. That way the volume would work. So we don't need to do it manually. We can do it from over here. But before that, let's just rename this. Press F2 to rename it, and this one will be our base color one, because we will be creating two volumes, one for the base color and the another one for height. So yeah, now just duplicate this. So press Ctrl C, then Ctrl V, and rename this one to height. Press F2 again and rename this to height. Alright, so now we have created like two volumes, two runtime texture volumes. The next step is to create the corresponding two textures. So come over here in this folder. Let's close this place actors window for now. And in the content browser, hit right click, and in the texture section, you can create a runtime virtual texture from over here. Create this, and again, I will first rename this one to base color, just so we know that it is for the base color. Right click textures, and again create another one, and this one would be for height. And now select the base color from over here, and in the virtual texture section, come over here, select base color, and in the height also select the height. And now we need to change their size just so it fits everything, like fits our landscape properly. So it is very easy to do. Just select the base color, and you will see this bound align actor. Select the drop down, and using that drop down, select the landscape, and then hit set bounds. As soon as you do that, you can see the size has increased and it is completely encompassing our landscape. Do the same thing for the height. Click on this drop down, select this, and set bounds. All right, perfect. We are good to go. Let's see. Next step is to just open up your base color, the textures from over here. Double click to open them up. And now when you will open this up, you will see the virtual texture content, and we can just change it to base color only, because we will only be using it for base color. We do not need the rest of the channels. Select base color and make sure to increase the size to like its maximum and hit save. Close this and do the same thing for the height. Double click to open it up. Change it to world height from over here and increase the size to maximum. Close this again. If you want, you can like change the virtual texture content for the base color to like contain all of the channels, just to have them, but we won't be using them at all. We will be using the base color only. But yeah, let's just keep it to have it. All right. And now we are basically done with the runtime virtual texture. The last thing to do is select the landscape and drag down, come over here. In the virtual texture section, we also want to add the both virtual textures, just to know that they need to be connected to this landscape. So click over here and select the base color. Again, click on this plus icon and select the height. And now as soon as you do that, you will see that our height has like some texture appearing over here, this black and white texture. So basically now we know that our RVTs are working, because basically what this white and black color is, wherever our landscape is like raised in height, it is appearing in white, and wherever it is flat or like downwards, it is appearing black. So I just quickly restarted my Unreal project, and you can see it is appearing over here also now. And we can also kind of see this in action if we go over to the landscape mode. And let's just again start sculpting over here. Set this to something like 0.2 again, and just sculpt lightly like this. And you will see it update over here. As you can see, yeah, the color has updated. And if you keep on like sculpting, you will see the map changes over here also. The base color is not really changing right now because our landscape does not have any color. But when we will add our landscape material to it to give it like color, then we will see it appearing in the base color section also. So yeah, if you hold shift now and create depth, you will see dark black color spots appearing in the center. So this is basically for the depth. And if you keep on like painting, you will see it starts to appear. So yeah, basically now we can confirm that our RVTs are working properly and they're connected to the landscape. So I will just quickly undo it. So yeah, now I think it is done and it should revert back to normal in a while. I think it is still left. So let's just quickly undo everything. All right, so everything is back to normal again. And in this lecture, we have successfully set up our RVTs. So I'll just come over here in the content browser, right click, and let's create a new folder and rename this to materials. Now in this folder, let's again right click and create a new material. I will name this as landscape master material. Now double click to open up this material and let's start. We will be creating a pretty basic landscape material. So let's just start. First, to access all the runtime virtual textures, we need to add a runtime virtual texture output node. So just hit right click and search for runtime virtual texture output. Hit enter and just place it right over here. All right. Next, we need to set up the base color of our landscape. Now, what we will be doing is we will be setting up a layer blend node and we'll choose like 3 or 4 different colors, one for the ground, for the grass, one for like dark colored grass, and then we will blend them all. And then using that, we will paint on our landscape. So just hit right click and search for landscape layer blend, this one. And now what you need to do is select this node and come over here and click on the plus icon 4 times to create 4 different layers. So now let's just go open this up from here. And the first one would be a ground. The second one would be grass underscore light. So this will be like a lighter version of our grass. This one can be simply grass. And the last one would be grass underscore dark. And now what we need to do is we need to plug this into the base color. So basically this node will drive our base color and we need to add like 4 different colors for all these layers. So just hit V on your keyboard, hold V and then just click like this and you will see a parameter is added. So basically this is like a vector 4 parameter and we can rename this to ground and just plug this in like this. Now just copy paste this 4 times. Sorry. And just plug all 4 of them into their respective channels like this and make sure to rename them. So this one will be grass underscore light. This one can be grass and the last one is grass underscore dark. All right. So we could have also like created them normally just by pressing 3 and if you use like this kind of color. So basically this is also a color input only. But the reason I created them like a parameter is you can just right click and convert this to parameter. So now this is a parameter. The basic difference between using it normally and using it like a parameter is when we like create the instance of this material, we can like change this like on the fly and we don't have to go into this material and change the color like manually again and again. We can just directly change it from the instance. Let me just quickly show you how. First, let's just set the color. So select the ground and let's see. Set the alpha to 1 and we can select like a yellowish color for the ground. Obviously, we can change this at any point of time. So you can just quickly set this to anything you like. This one would be a ground color and for the grass underscore light, we can choose like a greenish yellowish color. Something like this. For the grass underscore dark, let's just select a darker color, something like this. And for the normal grass, let's just choose a basic green color. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. And now, as I said, we can change these on the fly. So when you hit save on your master material and wait for it to like completely save, let's close this window. And if you come down over here, right click and create material instance. So we won't be actually using the master material on our landscape, but we will be using the instance. So when you open up this instance, you can see over here, we can easily change these like all the colors on the fly, however we like. And we don't have to actually go into the master material and make the changes over here, then hit save because that will be a long and tedious process. So yeah, that's why creating like parameters for the values that you will change often is a good practice. So yeah, let's just hit save and I will delete this instance for now and open up the master material again and let's start working. One thing that we forgot is make sure to set the alpha to 1. Yeah. All right. Now, for the specular and the roughness, we can basically hold 1 on our keyboard and then click to create these two like scalar parameters and just plug them into specular and roughness. Make sure to right click and convert them to parameter like this and rename this one to specular and this one can be our roughness. So now obviously we don't want to set the roughness to 0 because landscape is basically like ground. So it won't be reflecting that much value. So for the default value, we can set this to 1. And for the specular, let's see. You can see how the specular value reacts with the landscape material. So for now, I will just set the default value to 0.1 and we can see how it works out. Hit save. And now basically this is a very basic landscape material, but you will notice that we haven't actually done anything with this runtime virtual texture output. So what we need to do is it is pretty basic. Whatever you plug into the base color, you can just grab it and plug this into the base color. And this way, now it is working. It will now connect all these colors and our base color into the runtime virtual texture. So whenever we like place anything, things like grass or rocks, whatever, they will pick up the color from the ground and yeah, everything would work. So yeah, just plug this into the base color. If you want, you can also plug these channels into the specular and the roughness like this, but we won't be really using them. So I will just not do it. And another thing that we want to do is, if you remember, we created two different RVTs, one for the base color and another one for the height. So we need to plug something into the world height. So it is very simple. So you will just hit right click and search for the node world position. This one, absolute world position. So this node will basically give us like the coordinates of a single pixel. So we cannot like directly plug this into the world height because these are like the coordinates. So we'll just keep it like this and search for component mask. So basically this will like mask out the coordinates value. So this has like R, G and B. So basically this is X, Y and Z. So for the world height, obviously we will use the Z axis only because that is the height. So just enable the B channel because we only need the Z value, because we only need the world height. So we do not have any use for the X and the Y. So RGB is X, Y and Z. So just enable the blue channel and we only need the Z value, and now plug this into the world height. And yeah, basically it is working perfect now. Just hit save and we are done with the landscape material. So now let's start painting on the landscape a little bit to give it a bit of color. Close this. Now hit right click, create material instance. Select the landscape and just drag down, and in the material section, landscape material, drag and drop this material instance like this. And you can see our landscape went completely black. All right, so let's fix that. You can go over here in the mode, and in the landscape mode, select the paint, and you can see all four of our layers are appearing over here. But if we start painting, nothing really happens. It will say that this layer has no layer info assigned yet, so we need to create that. It is pretty simple again. Just click on this plus icon and select weight blended layer normal, and we can save it over here. But first I will create a folder. So right click and create a new folder, layer info. And now click over here, weight blended layer, and the layer info folder, hit save. Wait for it to save. And now as soon as you will save that, you will see the ground color is appearing all over our landscape because that was the first layer. That's why it is completely filled like this. You can now select the grass light, click on the plus icon, and just keep on creating all the layer info files for all four of the layers like this. And yeah, now all of the layer infos are created. And now when you select any of the layers from over here, like let's select the grass and start painting. It might take a little while to load at first and it will be a little slow. And yeah, you can see this green color is appearing over here. It is not as dark because currently the tool strength is set to 0.2. So if you increase that, now you will see it is a lot darker. You can select the grass dark, and start painting like this. And yeah, it is kind of a little bit laggy, but yeah, we can work with it. It is definitely not that bad. And you can see this way we can paint over our landscape easily, adding like all these different variations of colors to make it look good. And what will happen is when we will add our grass onto the landscape, it will basically pick these colors from the landscape, and using runtime virtual textures, the grass would automatically appear of that color, whatever is like below it. So it would be really cool. We'll do that later on. But right now, this is looking like really bad. It's not that good. What we can do is we can use a custom brush, and that way we can easily paint onto our landscape. If you select this icon over here, we can also select the alpha brush from over here. Currently, it is empty. But if you move over into your resources folder that I've provided to you, so open up that folder. In the textures folder, I've added this landscape alpha. Just drag and drop this into Unreal. Obviously, we cannot keep this out over here. Let's just create a new folder and keep everything organized. So drag and drop this into the textures folder. And now select the alpha and drag and drop this alpha over here. Now you can paint over it. This way, it would give a nice feel onto our landscape, and it is much better than using the normal brush. As you can see, it is already giving us really nice results. All right, so before I start to actually paint, I want to show you something that I mentioned earlier. If you go back in the material section, open up the material instance, and as I said, we can change the colors on the fly. So let's say I did not like the ground color, so I can set this to completely different, like red, hit OK, and you can see instantly that color changes to red. So this is like the power of using parameters. We don't have to go into the master material actually, and we can just quickly change them from over here only. Let's see the specular. If I set this to 1, will this give us like better results? Okay, 1 is really light, so set this to 0. And yeah, I think setting it to 0 looks much better in my opinion. Roughness is okay at 1 only, because if you set this to 0, everything would be like really reflective. You cannot see it right now, but yeah, we don't want this to be reflective, so we'll just set this to 1 only. And specular, I think instead of setting it at 0, we can set it to 0.1. And yeah, now let's just start painting on our ground. We can adjust the colors later on. So how we can do that is, I will just select the grass dark, give it complete 1 tool strength, and paint it all over our like landscape like this. Just cover it entirely like this. And now we can use the other layers to like layer onto it. Let's select the ground and make sure to decrease the tool strength to something like maybe 0.4 for now, and just quickly dab onto your landscape like this. And if you keep on layering, trust me, it would turn out to be really good. So just keep on doing this. And you can see we have this nice layering effect like over these areas. We can now use it repeatedly. So maybe set this to 0.6 this time. Now again, keep on like doing this. To give it like kind of like a painterly look. And we need to do it like multiple times to make it look good. Let's select this now. And yeah, this might take a little while, but it will like drive how our actual environment looks later on, because all these colors are dependent onto our grass. We'll decrease it to 0.2 or 3 maybe. So now I would just suggest you guys to pause the video and just keep on doing this until you feel like kind of nice effect has been reached. Make sure to keep on like changing the tool strength again and again, and just have different variations of these grass. And you can see it is kind of starting to look all right. Obviously, we can change the colors at any point of time. Increase the tool strength because I want the grass dark to be like mainly predominant in the landscape. Now just select the grass, this one, increase the tool strength, and again just do the same. Because earlier it was looking like really light. Now it is much better, I think. And yeah, as I said, this might take a little while to achieve like the perfect combo. And right now, I think I'm really happy with it. It is giving nice painterly look, and I'm quite satisfied with it. Let's just keep it this way, and I will hit save. And we are kind of done right now with the landscape. We have set up the basic material. We can now change these colors whenever we want, but right now let's keep them this way only. When we will actually add our grass onto our landscape, then we will change the colors and see how they react and how they look. For now, I think that's pretty good. Let's just hit save. So now let's model the grass in Blender. You can also skip this step if you want to, because I have already provided the grass model in the resource files that you have downloaded. So yeah, if you want, you can just directly skip this step and move over to the next part, that is creating the grass material. So it is pretty easy to do. So just quickly open a Blender, because we will be using Blender to model everything, all the grass, foliage, rocks, everything. We will be using Blender. So open up a new scene in Blender, and let's just start by pressing A to select everything and just delete all these default objects. I will also press N and quickly enable screencast keys, just so you can see all of the shortcuts that I'm performing. As you can see, they will appear over here, all of it by clicks, and even the keyboard shortcuts that I'm performing. So yeah, that's pretty helpful. Alright, so to start off, the first thing that I want you guys to do is, if you will quickly go over to your resources folder, and in the exports folder, you will find this Unreal Mannequin FBX file. So basically, we will be using this model. This is like a human model that we can use for our reference, like reference the size of our grass and foliage, everything. So just go over to File, Import, FBX, and now quickly head over to your tutorial directory. Where is it? Just a second. And now in the exports folder, select this, and yeah, you will see this mannequin imported into your Blender, and then we can use it to reference all our assets that we create, so that we get the perfect size and nothing is like too big or too small. Alright, so to start off, let's just press Shift A and add a plane. So this plane would be added, press R then X and rotate it by 90 degrees. You can type in 90 on your number pad to rotate it exactly by 90 degrees. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to move the origin point right over here at the bottom. So to do that, just press Tab to go into the edit mode. Press 2 for edge select, select this edge, and then press Shift plus S and move the cursor over here. So select cursor to select it, Shift plus S, then cursor to select it to bring the cursor right at the center of this bottom edge. And then you can go over here, Object, Set Origin, and set the origin to 3D cursor. So the reason I'm doing this is, I will just quickly show you. First, you can press G then Z, and now when you hold Control, you can snap it like this and easily place it exactly over this axis like this. So that is exactly over here. Then we can, if we scale it down, you can see it is really simple to scale it down. And if you press S then Z to scale it up, you can see it is pretty easy. And conversely, if you add another plane, and let's just say if the origin was in the center, and if you place it like this, then if you try to scale it, it can get a little bit like tedious. So this way, when you set the origin right at the bottom, it is very easy to scale everything. All right. So let's see. I will first scale it down. Something. Let's just see how thick we want our grass strand to be. Obviously, not this much. So the length, you can see it is around 2 boxes. So 2 units. You can make the length of the grass strand around this much only. Around 2 units. You can press S, then Z to scale it accordingly. Then you can press S, then X to scale it down on the X axis like this. Let's just keep it this much for now. And then what I will do is select it, press Ctrl A, apply the scale, and then press Tab, press Ctrl R, and just add a bunch of edge loops. You can add maybe 5. So to add edge loop, you can press Ctrl R and then use your scroll wheel to increase the number of them. So make it 5, then hit right click to place them exactly at the center like this. And now what I will do is select these 2 vertices. So press 1 for vertices select these 2 vertices, then press M and merge them at center to create something like this. And now to make it a little bit thinner, what I will do is I will select this and select this thing over here. So this is proportional editing. I will just show you what it is basically. So just enable it for now, press tab and just select these 3 things. So these 3 vertices, then press S, then X. And when you scale it down, okay, first enable it, sorry. Now press S, then X. And when you scale it down, you can see even though you are scaling these 3 things only, all of it is being affected. And you can control it by using your scroll wheel. If you bring the scroll wheel down, so whatever is inside this circle, it would be affected. So if you increase the size of the circle, you can see now all of these vertices still here are being affected. And if you increase the size even more, then everything is being affected. But if you decrease the size, then only these 3 are being affected. So this is like really cool. So what I will do is press S, then X to scale it like this, and then just increase the size of it. Yeah, this much is pretty good. And it is giving us like a nice strand like look, which I think looks pretty cool. So we don't have to do too much with this. I think this looks fine. And now what we need to do is we need to create a grass clump out of this. So basically we need to duplicate it again and again, and then we can create a grass clump. But before that, make sure to disable this. And one thing that I want to do before actually like creating a clump out of this is go over to UV editing. Let's scroll up over here. Press Ctrl A, apply the scale first, then press Tab. Press A to select everything, then press U and just hit unwrap so that it is UV unwrapped like this. You can select it over here, then press R and type in 180 to rotate it by 180 degrees. Just so it is UV unwrapped before we do anything. Disable proportional editing. Let's scale it down and place it just like this over here. So yeah, the reason I'm UV unwrapping it before is because after we duplicate it, it would be easier for us to UV unwrap all of them at once because they would be already UV unwrapped. So yeah, let's just keep it this way and come back to layout. And now we can actually start to duplicate it. I will just select this mannequin and turn it off for now. So press H to hide it. You can press Alt H to bring it back, or you can just toggle it from here. So I'm expecting you guys to know a bit of these shortcuts. So I might gloss over them, but I will try to like guide you through every step and tell every shortcut that I'm using, but sometimes I might forget. So yeah, now I will just press 3 for the right side view. So basically when you press 1, it is for front side view, 7 is for top, and 3 is for right side view. I will select this grass strand that we created and press Shift plus D to duplicate it. Press Y to lock it on the Y axis. Let's place it somewhere around here. And yeah, obviously it is too straight to look like a grass. So we need to rotate it a little bit. So press Tab and let's again enable proportional editing. Select these 3, I think, and then press R, then X, and you can rotate it like this. You can maybe select sphere from over here. Obviously decrease the size. Let's try the first one. And now press 3 again for the right side view. And let's just disable it first and press G. Then Y. Sorry. Whenever you press 3 and try to select all these vertices, you will notice that only this side is being selected. So make sure to enable X-ray. Now when you press 3 and select them, you will see everything is being selected. So yeah, just make sure to remember that. Bring it out over here in the front and just try to create like a nice looking curve out of this. Yeah, I think that looks pretty cool. Now what we need to do is I will select this one. Obviously this is too straight right now. So I'll just select this one, press R, then X, enable this first. And we can just rotate it just a little bit, not too much, just so that it does not look like really straight. And yeah, that's okay. Now you don't need to do anything, just select this, then press Shift plus D, rotate it around. So Shift plus D is to duplicate things. You can just duplicate it a couple of times and place it around like this. Very simple. Obviously right now it is looking really repetitive, but what we will do is select this. We can scale this one down, rotate it like this, make them all like various different sizes. And that's why I set the origin at the bottom point. As you can see, it is really easy to scale them down and like easily move them around. Press R then X and rotate it downwards like this. Now we can just, let's select these three, select them all, duplicate them, scale them down like this. Again, duplicate them, place them over here. Make sure to break up the variation a little bit. And yeah, already it is starting to look all right. Let's place one over here. Again, scale it down, rotate it. Make sure to press R then X. As you can see, it is not rotating properly, but if you press X once again, then you can rotate it like this. So whenever you press any axis two times, as let's say if I press G then Y, and if I press Y once again, it would be aligned like across the rotation. So it is pretty helpful. Make sure to make them all a little bit leaning forward. And yeah, again, I would suggest you guys to spend some time with it so that everything looks proper. And the more time you spend with it, it would come out nice. But right now, I think it is looking pretty good. We can duplicate stuff a couple of more times. Let's bring back our mannequin. And yeah, I think the size is pretty good. If you want to make it a little bit larger, you can select them all and scale them up just a little bit. Alright, so now I'm pretty happy with it. Let's just hit save and make sure to save our Blender file first. Totally forgot to do that. And now in the Blender files folder, let's rename this to grass. and hit save. All right, so now what we need to do is select them all like this and then press Ctrl J to join them all together so that they are just a single object like this. Right click and shade smooth this and go over here in the object data properties and make sure to enable auto smooth. The next step to do is go back to the UV editing, press A to select everything, and we do not need to like UV unwrap it once again. Just go over to UV and make sure to select average island scale first and then just select pack islands. And we will get something like this. Now we select it all, disable proportional editing, press R and rotate it by 180 degrees. And now what we need to do is we need to make sure that all the like bases, all these bases are parallel to each other. So we need to do that because if we don't do that when we set up like wind in Unreal Engine, it can cause problems for us because we only want the base to stay stable. So that's why we need to like keep all the bases in the single line only. So what we need to do is it is not that difficult. You can first enable this from over here so that they are visible. And now just hover over each one of them, press L and you can select them easily. You can see. So hover over this one, press L and then press G, then Y. To lock it on the Y axis, then hold Control. Okay, first we need to go over here and make sure to select vertex. So this is snapping. So select vertex snapping from over here. Now when you press G, then Y and now hold Control, you can see you can snap them both perfectly. So again press L, then press G, then Y and snap it. So just quickly keep on doing it. Press L, then press G, then Y. Sorry, press L over here, then press G, then Y and hold Control. L, G and Y and hold Control. So just quickly finish up this thing. Alright, so now it is done. You can just place them somewhere around here, scale them up a little bit. And now all of the bases are completely parallel. That is what we wanted. Now we can move back to the layout tab and let's see. Alright, so now let's select our object and first let's rename this to grass. And the last thing that we probably have to do is we just need to fix the normals of a grass, and with that everything would be done and we can export this to Unreal Engine. So to fix the normals, first you need to select your object and go into the edit mode and come down over here and enable this thing, this one in the center middle, normals. So you can display all the normals and you can see they are all facing in different directions. So what we want them to do is we just want to make them face all upwards like this, then it would work correctly. So to do that, it is pretty easy, but first what you need to do is you need to press tab to come out of the edit mode, then select your object and press Ctrl A and apply all transforms. What this will do is it will make sure your all your transforms are applied. There is like no rotations or anything, and also the origin is exactly at the world origin. One more thing that you need to make sure is if your grass is like placed somewhere around here and it is not at the origin, just quickly press 7 for the top view. Try to place it just around at the center only like this, somewhere around here. Then you can press Ctrl A and apply all transforms and you will see the origin point shifts back to the center. We want it to be at the center only because it can mess up things in Unreal Engine if it is not. So yeah, just make sure your grass is exactly at the center and the origin point is also over there at the world origin like this. And yeah, with that, when you have applied all the transforms, you can press tab to go into the edit mode, press A to select everything, and then you can press Alt plus N and you will see this point to target normals. So when you select point to target, you can click anywhere and it does not matter where they are all pointing. You can see this thing that is popped up in the bottom left corner. Just increase the Z value to a large number. You can maybe set this to 1000, so that they point exactly upwards, just like this. And with that, all our normals are correct and fixed, and we can now export this thing into Unreal Engine. So now to export it, you can just select it. Make sure to just select this thing only and not anything else. Go over to File, Export, and select FBX. You can enable selected objects so that only the selected objects get exported, and make sure to select mesh from over here so that only mesh type of objects get exported and not anything else like camera and anything else. And yeah, you can just rename this to grass and come over to your exports folder and hit export. And with that, we are basically done. You can open up Unreal now. Let's right click in the content browser and create a new folder. I will rename this to grass. Open it up, go over to add, import, and in your tutorial folder, you can select this export file that we just exported from Blender, grass.fbx, and hit open. Make sure to enable import normals from over here. You can open up this advanced option and make sure in the normal import method, import normals is selected and not anything else. And rest everything can remain at default only. Just hit import all. And yeah, now your grass has been imported into Unreal Engine. You can drag and drop it into the scene, but it would look very weird because it does not really have any kind of material right now. You can see you cannot even view it properly, but don't worry, we'll fix all that. So let's just delete it for now. And next thing to do is right click and create a new material. Let's rename this material to grass underscore master material. And basically this will be a master material. So if you remember, I mentioned that the grass will be picking up color from a landscape using RVTs. So let's just do that now. Double click to open up your master material, and it is really simple to do. Let's just set up that first. Hit right click and search for Runtime Virtual Texture Sample. We will be using this one. So just select this, and if you remember, we only need the base color. So just select the base color and plug this into the grass master material base color. But first, what we need to do is we need to actually select the virtual texture over here. And now go over here. And if you remember, now that we have painted our landscape, you will see that it is appearing over here in the RVT, like the height. So yeah, now we can just select this node over here and select the virtual texture as this base color. And automatically it will pick up the color from the landscape, hit save. And that is all we had to do. Obviously, this is not the material. It is like very, very basic. We will add more things to it. But for now, just to see the colors and everything, if everything is working all right, that is pretty good. And let's just try it out on a grass. Select the grass. Let's right click and create a material instance of this. So we have this grass master material instance. Let's open up the grass and select over here and search for grass material instance. This one, select it. And yeah, now it is appearing over here. All right, hit save. Let's close this out. And what we can do is we can go over here, select foliage, and we can drag and drop this grass into foliage. Select this and make sure to set the paint density to 1. Let's increase the brush size. And if you just start painting over here like this, you can see it is appearing, but it is very, very small and it is like really less. Let's just delete this all. And what we can do is instead select this and make sure to increase the density from over here. By increasing the density, it will appear a lot more. So maybe something like 6000, so that it is a lot higher. And now when you start painting, the grass is appearing a fair bit. It still does not look that good. But if you will closely look at the grass, it is picking up the color from the, what we can say, our landscape. It is picking the color from landscape. Let's just undo it all. And what I will do now is, now that we have increased the density, let's just also play with the size a little bit. So right now they are all of equal size. So we don't want our grass to be that way. So increase the scaling from over here for the maximum value to something like 3. And now when you paint it, you will see the grass is of different sizes. And yeah, that's much better and it is looking all right now. And now if you just quickly paint it all over, just like that. Obviously, it looks really, really bad right now, but we will do a couple of things that will fix it a lot more. And now that we have painted quite a lot, you can clearly see that the grass is picking up color from the landscape and our RVTs are working perfectly. You can see wherever we painted dark, the dark grass is appearing over there, and wherever we painted light, the light grass is appearing, making it look pretty good. It does not look stylized at all and it does not look like fluffy, but yeah, it is what it is right now. Let's just quickly paint it all over and then I will show you how we can make it look a little bit better. So there is like a magic option that you can just select it and it will automatically make things look a lot better. So just come down over here and let's just find a nice little angle that we can look our grass at. You can press G to turn on and off game view so that you can view everything properly. And yeah, I think over here everything is looking pretty good. So now what you need to do is stylized grass basically does not have any kind of shadows. So you can just select over here and scroll down and make sure to disable cast shadow. As soon as you do that, the grass looks much better and it looks like much more stylized because there are not really any shadows and it's starting to look a bit fluffy. That is what we were aiming for. It is still not perfect. We will add things like wind, some color variation, but yeah, for now it is looking pretty good. Alright, so next if you will just quickly hover around your scene and look over where the part, the light is hitting the grass, you can see that it is looking very weird. And the reason for that is because we haven't really set up the roughness and the specular of our grass. That's why it is looking weird when the light hits the grass like this. So just to quickly fix this, let's place our scene like this so that we can see the effect. And in the grass master material, you can come over here, hold 1 on your number pad or sorry, on your keyboard and click like this to create two parameters. Right click and convert them to parameter and rename this one to roughness and this one to specular. We can set the default value of roughness for 1 and the specular can be at 0. Now you can connect this one to roughness and this one goes into specular. And now as soon as you hit save, the look of the grass should improve massively. And now you can see that the grass is behaving much better when the light is hitting it and it looks really good now. You can also close this out and open up your material instance and you can easily control both of these parameters from here. Like if you increase the roughness, nothing really happens. When you decrease or increase the roughness, I think it is not that visible. But we don't want our grass to be reflective, so we'll just set this to 1. And for the specular, you will see that if you increase the specular, then the grass gets like really light and it does not look natural at all. So let's just keep it to 0. So yeah, now you can see the roughness when we increase the specular and then we play with the roughness. You can see now it is very reflective. So obviously we don't want that. So let's just put this to 1 and this to 0. Alright, so much better already. Our scene is coming along pretty well. So the next thing to do is let's just hit save over here and open up a master material once again. And now we want to play around with the colors a little bit more. One thing that I want to share before we proceed is you can also create like a parameter for this runtime virtual texture. Like right click and search for runtime virtual sample and you will find this runtime virtual sample parameter. So basically both of these nodes are basically the same thing. The only difference being that you can change this node in the material instance also because this is a parameter. So let's say I just plug this in. It will show an error right now, but I will select the base color as this one, hit save. And now the only difference is when you will open up your material instance, you can change the virtual texture from over here also. This does not work because we only have one virtual texture and we don't really want to change it from the parameters. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that you can add this node, the parameter one, and you can change it on the fly in your material instance if you have like multiple different virtual textures. So let's just select it, delete this one and plug this into the base color once again, hit save. And now what I want is we want to be able to change the tip color of the grass and we will like create a gradient to control it. So let's just do that. Hold 4 and click like this to create a, sorry, we can just delete this and hold V instead and then click. to create this parameter, vector 4 parameter, and let's rename this to tip color. We can set this to something greenish yellowish for now, because we can change it later on. Hit OK. And now we want to mix these two. So the way we can do that is we can lerp them to. So select this and just search for linear interpolate and plug them both in. Now basically both of these are combined, our runtime virtual texture and the tip color that we have created. We can change it in the material instance, and the way we will control this is by setting up an alpha that will decide which parts will get this thing and which parts will get this thing. So what we can do is we will be using a gradient, as I mentioned earlier, because our grass is basically like a strand. So we need to create a gradient in the Y. Let's just use a plane for this one. You can change the objects from here. So a plane represents our grass better. So let's just select this and right click and search for linear gradient. So now there are two different gradients, U and V, that basically are X and Y. So we will choose the gradient in the Y axis because we want to create a gradient like this, because our grass strands are standing straight up like this. So select the V gradient and plug this into a multiply. And now press 1 and create a parameter. So right click and create a parameter over here. And let's rename this to gradient strength. Basically that will control our gradient, and set this to 0.3. And now I will show you just a quick little trick to like visualize your nodes better. You will understand way better this way. So right click and select start previewing node, and you will see that here is the gradient. And if you select this gradient strength thing, you can control the default value. Sorry, you can increase or decrease the default value, and then you can control the gradient. So basically this will be our gradient strength, and that's why we created it a parameter, so that we can change it in the material instance. If you set this to 0, it is completely black, and if you increase this, it will like tighten up over here. But now obviously this gradient is flipped because it is coming out from the top. We want it from the bottom. So to do that, just select this V gradient and plug this into 1 minus node, and now plug this into the A, and you will see that it is flipped now. So that is what we wanted. And if we plug this thing into the alpha and just right click over here and stop previewing this node. And the thing about this is, if I plug this into the base color, so now you can see that we can control this gradient by this gradient strength. And if I set this to completely 0, it will have the color of this RVT. And if I keep on increasing this gradient, then slowly this tip color will start to come in, as you can see. So yeah, basically this is what we wanted. You can also change this tip color from over here, and it will show up over here. So this is what I meant with the alpha. This alpha is like controlling what parts will show the top node and what parts will show the bottom node. And we are controlling that through this gradient. I hope I was clear with the explanation, because it is a little bit confusing. So let's set this to 0.3 and now plug this into the base color, hit save, and see how it changes our grass. It might not look good, but we can change things in the material instance to make them look better. And yeah, instantly our grass is like a lot yellow, and it does not look good right away, because now everything looks pretty much the same. But let's just come to the material instance now and try to control the gradient strength. If you increase the gradient strength, it will become all yellow, because now the tip color is completely taking over. But if you decrease it and just keep it like a low value, then we can have like a nice bit of effect. You can also change this color to make it like a more greenish yellow, and that is like completely according to your taste. And I think that would add a nice bit of value. This way I think it looks much better. And yeah, now just hit OK. So let's set this to something like 0.2. And now if you keep on increasing it, the tip color would start to take over. But if you keep it at a low value, you can see if you set this to 0, then it is completely like the RVT. But if you increase it a little bit, then this tip color would start to show up. So let's just set this to 0.2, because I think that adds a nice bit of color to a grass, and I think it makes it look better. So yeah, I'm happy with it. Let's continue. Let's go back to the master material. We can hit save over here and let's see. Now, the only thing that is left is we need to set up the wind in our grass. So adding wind to the grass is like really easy. You can just hit right click. Okay, before adding wind, sorry. One another thing that we also have to do is enable two-sided on your grass and hit save. Everything would look really weird when you just enable two-sided and then hit apply or save because all the shadows and normals would go weird. But don't worry, we'll quickly fix them later on. So yeah, now you can see they look very weird. But let's just quickly fix this now. The reason this is causing is because we don't have anything plugged into our normal channel. So that's why the normals are all weird. So hit right click and search for a multiply node. And for this multiply, so in the first node, right click and search for two-sided sign and plug this in because we want our grass to be two-sided. So that's why we are using this two-sided sign. And another one would be hold 3 on your keyboard. Click like this to create this vector 3 node, basically a color node, and set the blue value to 1. And this color is like the base color for the normal maps. So that's why we are using this color. Now plug this into the normal channel and hit save, and that should fix our grass back to its original. Alright guys, so now our grass normals are completely fixed. So I think we can move on to the final part of this lecture, that is to add some wind to our grass, and that will give a lot of life to our scene. Everything is looking pretty good right now, and if we add the wind, our grass would start to look really nice. So let's start. Open up the master material, and adding wind is pretty easy. It's not that difficult, it is pretty straightforward. Just hit right click and search for a node called simple grass wind. And we have this node over here. So first let's hold 1 and click over here to add this node. Plug this into intensity, right click and convert to parameter, and let's rename this as wind intensity. We can set the default value to, as usual, 0.3. I will just duplicate this parameter, Control C and V, plug this into the wind weight. Sorry, I will plug this into the wind speed and again rename this to wind speed. For the additional WPO, I will just put this to 0. So hold 1 and click over here and plug this into 0. Alright, so for the last thing, that is the wind weight, if you want, you can directly plug in like a normal parameter into it and then plug this whole thing into the world position offset, and it would work fine, I think. But the main problem that would be caused would be that the whole grass strand would start to be affected by the wind, and we do not want that, obviously. We only want the top part of the grass strand to be affected by the wind, and we want the bottom part to stay stable into the ground, because that is how it is also in real life. The bottom part stays inside the ground while only the top part is affected by the wind. So obviously we need to plug something else into the wind weight. And if you remember, we did the same thing over here when we created this tip color. We created like a mask like thing for the gradient. We created a gradient on the y-axis that masked out the tip from the bottom. And if you view this node, so start previewing node, and you can see we have easily masked out the ground part that is in the black color, that will stay stable, and the rest of the part that would keep on moving. So we can again use this setup that we used over here in the wind weight also. So let's just stop previewing this node, copy this whole thing up, press Control C, then Control V, and this time just plug this into the wind weight. And obviously we need to change the parameter over here. This time this one can be wind gradient strength. And yeah, for the default value, we can set this to something else, because if you just start previewing this node, you will see that this black color is coming up till over here. So this area also would not be like properly affected by the wind. So what we can do is we can increase the gradient strength, because we only want the wind to not affect the ground part of our grass. So we can maybe set this to something like 0.9 maybe for the default value. Obviously, we can change this in the parameter, but right now we can set this to 0.9 and hit save. And we are pretty much done with everything. Let's stop previewing this node and plug the result just into the world position offset. And you will see that our plane is starting to get wobbly. You can see it is moving around. If you view this in the sphere form, you can see that the sphere is moving now. That means our wind has started to take place. So let's save and let's close this out. And you can see it is working perfectly. The wind is making our grass move and it is looking really nice now. As you can see, the wind is working perfectly. If you go close to the base over here, let's just view it from this side. You will see that the base stays inside the ground and it is not really affected by the wind, and only the top part is being affected. And if you remember, that's why we did the UVs that way when all the bases were parallel. So for this reason, the bases were parallel so that they won't be affected by wind altogether. And we set up like gradient like thing to mask them out. And if you open up the instance now, and if you like decrease the gradient strength, let's set this to 0 for now, and also increase the wind intensity and the wind speed, and now increase the gradient. And you will see as you increase the gradient strength, more and more of the strand is being affected by the wind. And if you decrease it, less and less parts are being affected. If you keep it at a very low value, only the tip is being affected. And if you keep on increasing it, more and more of the strand is being affected. And if you make it like even greater than 1, the whole grass is being affected and it is moving like crazy. So yeah, obviously we can set this to 0.9. And yeah, right now the wind speed and the intensity is also very high. So that's why it is behaving this way. Let's just set them back to default to 0.3 and 0.3. And let's play around with them to get a nice result. So when both of them are set to the default values 0.3, the wind is really not moving that much. And we can increase it maybe a little bit. So let's see. So we can increase the intensity to somewhere around 0.75. And that is making the grass move quite a bit. And for the speed, we can maybe set this to 0.6. And yeah, these values, I found them to be working pretty well. The grass movement is looking really natural and it flows pretty well. You can maybe increase the speed if you want to 0.8, and that is completely according to your taste. You can maybe increase it even more, increasing the intensity also to get some crazy results. But the more you increase the speed, it will look really unnatural. So yeah, keeping it at 0.75 and 0.6, I think looks really nice. And yeah, with that, our grass is good to go. We can hit save on our scenes. And yeah, with that, we are done with the video as well. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.